Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. A few times during the Clodbuster build I've been told off for still calling it a Clod with the change of chassis. So we're going to build up a second Clod that isn't a Clod, just to see how different two Clods can actually be. So here we go then, the Tamiya Bullhead. It uses the same chassis as a Clodbuster but in different colours, with a rather over-the-top body shell. It's going to have all the same issues that a stock Clodbuster has, with the terrible steering, suspension that works only in name, and general rattliness. The plan this time is, rather than make a speedy high performance truck, we're just going to modernise it with some lithium polymer batteries, perhaps some very mild brushless motors and lots of lights, along with maybe some concessions to performance, adding oil dampers and on-axle steering. It should be fun, and in the end we're going to have the two ends of the Clodbuster spectrum to play with. Anyway, let's see what we get with the current release of the Clod/Bullhead. The stuff in the box is of course very neatly packed, but without all the nice presentation of the old kits. Still better looking than a lot of other kits though. When you open the box there's a very strong wow factor. If you're not familiar with the Clodbuster size, we can compare the tyres with your typical 1.9 crawler. This is an old Proline flat iron from an SCX-10. As you can see, the Clod is quite big. It's a simple 1980s chassis, but you do get a lot of truck for your money. What we'll do now then is put the box to one side and lay everything out on the bench so you can see just how much they've packed in. First out are the 4 Clod tyres. Now they feel a lot softer than my other set, but I don't think they're a different compound. Rather, my old set are 20 years old and have gone a bit hard. For what we're doing, they're going to do the job perfectly. Here's the chrome wheels. Now my old Clod came with white ones, but I think the Clod is standard between the Bullhead and the Clodbuster now. They're going to work perfectly for this build. The red chassis tub. It's not as stealthy as the black one from the Clodbuster. We're going to have to work the red into the rest of the colour scheme, I think, as there's not going to be any easy way to hide it. The Bullhead body is completely daft. It's going to make the centre of gravity super high, but on the plus side it's going to stand out in a crowd. Being a Tamiya, the quality of the mouldings is really nice. There's a few very faint mould lines here and there, but that'll smooth out after 5 minutes of wet sanding. For the first parts tree we have the L tree. There's loads of chrome in this kit, and just like the body, it's excellent quality. The roll bar has steel moulded into it too, so it's actually functional. Very nice. Here's the G and H parts, the air filter and grille on the G and exhaust on H. It's all really rather shiny. These are the N parts, the fuel tanks. Probably my least favourite part of the whole body. They just don't quite look right on the back. Quality wise though, they are of course very nice. J parts with the Bullhead bumper, body mounts and more bits of the roll bar. Here are the C parts. Now there's 2 sets that mostly make up the suspension arms. Interestingly though, you also get a full set of Clodbuster body mounts, so if you want to fit a Clod body it would be an easy swap. Here's the window in a heavily tinted brown. Now I really want clear windows for this build though, so we're going to have to think of something else to use instead. F parts, there's 2 of these that have the bumper, shocks and loads of rod ends. On the original Clod they were of course red, on the current Super Clod they're blue, and there was a recent black edition with black ones. They're made of a slightly flexible plastic, which for the bumpers really isn't a bad thing. These are the B parts. You've got the gearbox halves, the hex adapters and various other small gearbox related bits. A parts. Now we're going to be replacing most of the bits on here when we start modding. We've got the electronics tray that will hold a 4-cell AA receiver pack and a mechanical speed control. Also there's the battery cups designed to fit 6-cell NiCads. D parts, the steering knuckles. E parts, where we have 2 pairs of axle tubes. Now I'd always recommend grabbing a spare pair with the kit. I've broken quite a few around where the knuckles mount over the years. The first bag of metal bits is quite chunky. We've got 2 27-turn silver cans, brass spline adapters, steel shafts, and a first for me, because this is an updated kit, it comes with the metal plates to reinforce the suspension mountings on the chassis. It was always a weak spot on the old kits, especially if you did more than just cruise around. In this one, we've got all the screw bags along with the chunky main gears for the gearbox, and we've also got a TEU 106BK twin motor ESC, which is going to be miles better than the old mechanical one. Next up, we've got the paperwork bag, and inside we've got a rather nice cloth flag with some thin wire to attach it. Now I'm probably not going to use it as it doesn't quite fit with the theme that I've got in mind. A clear antenna tube, the perfect length if you want to use a 27 meg radio. The decal sheet, which of course is super high quality. Now I'm not sure I'm going to use any of it though, maybe just the grill badge. Here's the manual, and as you'd expect from Tamiya, the diagrams are amazingly clear with all the 1:1 ratio parts references down the side. One of the things that really makes Tamiya kit so nice to put together. Here's another little decal sheet with some caution labels and a couple for the on-off switch. This is the standard sheet you get with many words that I don't think anybody other than the guy who wrote it has ever actually read. And that then is what you get in the box. Not as many bits as some kits, but it's all classic chunky Tamiya. Even without testing them, I can safely say that all the bits are going to go together like a well-made jigsaw puzzle. In addition to the kit, you're going to need a few other bits to make it go. We're going to use a FlySky GT3C with modified firmware paired up with a 6-channel receiver, but we're probably going to end up using an 8-channel to run all the gubbins that I've got in mind. To get the truck running, you only really need 2 channels, so even the most basic radio will work just fine. For the classic Tamiya feel, we're going to need a 6L NiCad or NiMi pack with a Tamiya connector. We're only going to use this for a test run to complete the model before upgrading to a LiPo. I've only got a couple of the old batteries left now, and they're really past their best. You'll also need a standard size servo for steering, and bear in mind with the stock setup the one servo steers both axles, so it's going to need a fair amount of grunt. For value, one of the 25 kilogram Chinese specials will do the job well enough. I forgot to dig one out for the video, but you'll be looking for one with the red or blue metal centre section with the black plastic top and bottom. They range from 10 to 20 quid depending on where you find them. Another thing that is technically optional is a bearing kit. Being a Tamiya, the kit comes with bushings, which are functional, but if you're planning to actually run the truck, some proper bearings reduce wear and tear hugely and make for a smoother drivetrain. Usually the shop you get the kit from will have a set, or better yet, go to rcbearings.co.uk. We'll also need some tools. First up, we have some screwdrivers. Now ideally you're going to want a set of JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard ones, to fit the screws. You can get away with Phillips, but the fit isn't perfect, so you can easily slip on tighter screws. Some pliers with a fairly narrow tip, better yet if they've got some grippy bits on the ends for putting on the E-clips. The kit comes with a tool, but in my experience it's a good way to make sure you lose them. A small sharp knife for various things, always useful. Some side cutters. Now you're going to want a set with one side being flush to cut the parts from the tree. The cheap set works just fine, just make sure you only use them on plastic and they'll pretty much last forever. Well, that's about it then. Everything to put together a Bullhead, except the servo. Maybe I'll add one in post just to complete the picture. We're going to be building it up more or less as Tamiya intended, then as usual bit by bit modify and upgrade. I've got a theme in mind, lots of lights, sound and general flashiness. Generally the complete opposite to the race Clod. There's going to be lots of 3D printed bits, custom electronics, and no doubt we'll end up with cheap tat that doesn't quite do what it's supposed to, but that's half the fun. So that's it for this week then. I hope you have a fairly good Christmas and have something to build. Happy New Year for next week. I'll see you on the other side. As always then, thanks for watching, like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!